Hey everyone, this will be the third time that I've tried to record and upload this video, so hopefully I don't walk through this too quickly, but because of time constraints, if you do need any kind of clarification throughout this video, please feel free to ask me via email or just ask me during class on Monday. So I've titled this assignment Thinking Outside of the Box because for your homework, I want you to begin brainstorming interesting topics for your Unit 4 projects. So in brief, just to let you know that we'll review the Unit 4 assignment sheet and calendar on Monday. So in terms of the specific assignment criteria and the specific deadlines, we'll go over that in class. We'll also hold off on discussing the multimedia PSA and also the annotated bibliographies. You may have heard me mention them once or twice throughout Unit 3, but again, these are elements of the of the project that we'll be talking about in class. This will be a fun and challenging unit for you all. I really look forward to starting Unit 4 since previous classes have told me that Unit 4 seems to be the favorite out of all of them. But just keep in mind this unit is also a culmination of your research practices. So you will be using a lot of the skills that you've been looking at in Units 2 and 3 in terms of audience analysis and also research and citation. So just to give you a brief introduction to Unit 4, the two terms that we'll be talking about a lot in this unit is argument and advocacy. And again, because of time constraints, I don't want to go into this too much, but just keep in mind that these are two separate things that will be part of your project in terms of having a position that you can defend through the research and statistics and data that you find, and also pushing an agenda for that position and issue. And that is what is considered advocacy. Again, you'll be using some of the skills that you've been using throughout Unit 3, including APA citation, research practices. You'll be introduced to basic principles of argumentation in order to advocate your position. And you'll also, again, be presenting a multimedia presentation for your final. We'll talk more about this throughout the unit, but just keep in mind that your final exam is scheduled for Friday, April 30th from 4 to 6:45 p.m. Your participation during our final is mandatory for you to pass this course. So if you do have work that day or you have any other kinds of activities, now is the time to make sure that you can have the time for your final in order to pass this class. If you have any concerns about that, please, now is the time to come talk to me. Okay, so if you do have any questions, and I realize I'm kind of walking through this very quickly, but if you do have questions, initial questions about the assignment itself, about the project, or about your outline that you will be creating, take a minute and write down some of those questions now, and I'd like to go over them over class on Monday as we discuss the assignment sheet. Okay, so your homework for Monday, what I want you to do is bring in no less than 5 topics for your Unit 4 paper. And these are topics that we will be discussing in class, so it's really important that you do come prepared on Monday. But first off, before we get to that, something else that we'll be talking about on Monday is what does it take to move from a really broad topic to a really narrow thesis statement. So for instance, you can think about the topic global warming. Well, that's a really huge topic. So thinking about how you can narrow that down to a defendable thesis statement. And just keep in mind that your thesis statements have to be a defendable statement, which means that it can't just be based on your opinion of an issue. Okay, so at this point, go ahead and get out a blank sheet of paper and pen, or go ahead and open a Word document since you're already on the computer. Before you start using Google or any other kind of search engine to brainstorm some ideas, I really want you to consider the following questions. Are you studying anything interesting in your other classes? Did you read anything in the newspaper that caught your attention? Did you hear something on NPR or another radio news program? Is there anything happening with the Alaska State Legislature? And by that I mean, is there any local issues that you are interested in at this moment? What was the last friendly debate you had with friends or family? Is there anything you want to know more about? So again, take a minute and reflect on some of these questions. You may have generated some interesting topics through discussions with your friends or through other classes, whether it's anthropology, history, biology, whatever that may be. Go ahead and just start thinking about some of those issues or topics that you've discussed. Okay, so like I said, take a few minutes and write down as many interesting topics as you can. At this point, don't limit yourself to just 5. Just keep writing as many topics that come to your mind. Keep in mind that these don't have to be topics you know a lot about. These also don't have to be topics that you necessarily agree on. These can be local or global topics, and what that means is you can look at topics that affect you locally, so specifically in Anchorage or also as an Alaskan resident, and also global issues, global issues concerning every people outside of just Alaska. So you could go back to the issue of global warming, for instance. Again, these don't have to be topics you may have used or heard in traditional debate circles. In fact, I highly recommend that you avoid writing down topics that you may have previously used in other classes or in high school for similar kinds of debate activities. Typically, these are topics that we know already the pro and con sides, so there's really nothing that interesting to discuss. Remember, I want you to think outside of the box for this assignment. You will be composing a thorough outline, annotated bibliography, and an intense multimedia project that consists of these ideas that you come up with as a class for the remainder of the semester. So I really urge you to be brainstorming some interesting topics. Okay, so how do you know if your topics are interesting? Really quick tips. The first one is to review your list of topic ideas. First off, which ones are often discussed in academic debate or in the media? Go ahead and put a question mark by these ones. Are you sick of hearing about any of these topics, but you just wrote them down anyway? Can you already visualize the pro and con arguments for your topic? Or do you have a strong stance on one of these topics? If you do have a strong stance or a personal opinion, that's fine. That doesn't mean you can't include it in your list. But if you can already visualize the pro and con arguments, that probably means you've heard this debate more than once and that you're pretty familiar with what the research is that supports these sides. Do any of these topics affect you, family, or friends, but you're not exactly sure how? This last question is really pertinent because the point of this, what I want you to take away from Unit 4 is that these issues are not only ones that we're discussing within the classroom. Typically, these are issues that are affecting us outside of our lives of the academic community. So for you to be researching these are providing relevancy for you outside of just what we're learning in this class. Okay, so at this point, you may notice that some of your topic ideas can be trite or even exhausted in argument. Go ahead and just cross these ideas out of your list, or go ahead and just delete them out. What I want you to do is to keep brainstorming interesting topics outside of the box. Once you think you've come up with 5 good, and by good I mean interesting topics, go ahead and bring no less than 5 of them to class on Monday. And by all means, you're welcome to bring more, but no less than 5. Remember, you're choosing your topic and not necessarily your position based on the ideas you present as a class. So I will not be providing the topics for you for this last unit. Again, the more interesting and relevant your topic is, the more you will truly enjoy writing this research paper and advocating your position. So I look forward to hearing your topic ideas on Monday, and good luck on writing your Unit 3 papers.